itself at the rig. We are overseeing the methodology BP is using to get that thing capped, to stop the flow of oil. But they're actually manufacturing, for example, the copper dome that they're going to try to deploy this weekend. And they are the ones that have been down underneath working with the ROVs, etc. They got one of the leaks closed, as you know, yesterday at the end of the riser. They have two more, so it doesn't affect the oil flow, but it does affect the area that needs to be capped. With respect to the oil that comes up to the surface and the efforts to prepare for landfall, BP is working, and I would use the relationship as wholesale to retail. And let me explain that, if I might. BP is a supply chain for equipment, for personnel that may not be locally available, for payment to people that are being hired, fishermen, other people, for example. They are their supply chain. Local governments, cities, towns, and with the state, with their emergency managers and with their state plans are really the retail. How is that going to be deployed? And what Captain Poland is doing is making sure that there is smooth linkage from BP to what needs to be deployed locally. This is going on all across the Gulf, in all of the areas where we have forward command staging. It ultimately feeds up into the National Incident Commander, who's the Commandant of the Coast Guard, Thad Allen, and Admiral Allen is responsible for making sure that as needs develop, for example, this spill, it moves, right? And the projections of where it is going to move are good for about 72 hours, is when NOAA would say they have scientific confidence in the projections. But as those projections of where the oil is going to move, that may mean adjustments about where resources are deployed along the entire Gulf. So we're working with state and local governments to make sure they have smooth connectivity with BP. We're making sure that things they need directly from the federal government, like authority to use the National Guard, that those authorities have been swiftly turned around and given to the governors to have in their back pockets. We're making sure at the National Incident Command level that we are able to flex the response dependent on where the oil actually goes.
Right here.
Secretary Napolitano, could you say your level of confidence in that contraption thing that they're putting down on the Gulf floor right now will actually work and keep new oil out of the Gulf? How confident are you that it'll work?
You know, I hope it works. It has not been used at that depth before, but we are still proceeding as if it won't. If it does, that, of course, will be a major positive development. But we are proceeding forward, and the governor is proceeding forward, and his personnel are proceeding forward, and Secretary Locke and Director Lubchenco, we're all proceeding forward on the assumption that it won't.
Sir.
Question for Mrs. Member. What are the 72-hour maps showing right now? Will it come to shore? Will it hit the Gulf Stream? And additionally, how is weather helps?
Weather and sea state conditions are such that the oil is projected to move northward and then slightly to the west. Meaning that for Mississippi, it's unlikely to make landfall here in that foreseeable next couple of day window. Where the oil goes is very much a function of the weather conditions. The winds can shift very, very rapidly, as anyone here in the state knows well. There has been concern about where else the oil may go. We cannot predict the dynamic state of the ocean with any confidence farther out than 72 hours. So far, our projections have been relatively accurate, and we are doing everything possible to contain the spill and to keep it from moving in places, coming ashore. And that's what all the booming activities, the use of the dispersants, the burning are all intended to contain it as much as possible. But of course, the big effort needs to be to stop the oil at its source. And every resource is being deployed to ensure that that happens. The weather has, in the last couple of days, it's been very, very helpful. When the wind is low and the ocean is more calm, then we can apply the dispersants and we can do burns. We can actually see better where it is. When the ocean is very, very rough, as it was over the weekend, then it's much more difficult to be doing anything active by containment.
Jeff. Maybe Governor and Secretary Napolitano, maybe for both of y'all. I'm wondering, do you guys have a best case scenario and a worst case scenario, like you mentioned earlier? What is that?
Well, the best case scenario would be that the oil never reaches landfall, but I don't think we can depend on that. This thing has spread, and the oil takes various forms. Some of it is tar balls. It's actually chunks of oil, as it were. There's emulsified oil on the surface of the ocean, and then there are miles and miles of miles of sheen. So that's really what we're dealing with, and that area is hundreds of square miles currently covered. So I think the best case scenario is there's no landfall. The worst case scenario is that it is one where they lose control at the wellhead itself. We're hopeful. We all hope the Coffer Dam is successful this weekend. That would provide some confidence that we can work with the amount of oil that we're currently seeing, but we won't know until I think the end of the weekend whether that is so.
For the state, we're praying for the best, but preparing for the worst. We have a multi-layered defense plan to defend outside the barrier islands, to defend in the passes, that if it gets beyond the barrier islands into the Sound, to skim, disperse, battle in the Sound, then at the mouths of the bays where we have boom today, and ultimately if moose, this orange conglomeration of weathered oil and water penetrates into the mouths of the bays, then we'll reset up and fight them in front of the most fragile marshlands, which of course is where the shrimp are right now in this time of year. And so and then what gets through, we're going to clean up off the beaches. But I think, Jeff, it's very important. There is not certainty here that this is Armageddon, that something terrible is going to happen. We may have as the Secretary says, we may be hit by sheen, which is negative impact, but not a great big impact. Certainly not a catastrophe. We may get a little bit of the moose. We may get a lot, and then you can go on from there. But people need to understand, don't be frantic. But remember what she said, there are ways to volunteer. We need people to volunteer. We need people to get trained. Don't just expect to volunteer that you can go down to the beach and pick up some tar balls. You got to get trained to deal with these materials. And so we hope that our fishing fleet will all call in and become vessels of to fight the storm, to fight the oil slick, and also that our people will volunteer. Ma'am.
In Alabama, there were some videos to keep people from not canceling plans. Are you worried about the economic hit that this could have on this area of going out to the beaches? So someone's got more cooking wanting to know about summer plans here in Mississippi.
Well, we just finished a great golf tournament. We had record turnout. Super event. I think everybody loved it. The beaches are beautiful. It may be, as Dr. Lubchenko says, that 4 or 5 days from now, 3 days from now, that we could have some intrusion, but we haven't. And our waters are still open for fishing, by the way. And there are still people coming down to as tourists to go to the beach, to fish, and enjoy the entertainment and the great destination resort of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. When that